So, welcome to this first MySQL session of the week. I'm very happy to be here to present you Document Store. And this is really for, this talk will be focused for the Python developers, right? But of course, you can use the MySQL Document Store with any other language that we have connectors for it. So the first slide, it's a very known one that you will see a lot during the sessions. First, who I am. So my name is Frédéric Descamps. I am LeFred on Twitter. I'm a MySQL evangelist. I've been managing MySQL for a long time already. I'm a DevOps believer, so if you have a DevOps question, you can always find me around. I will be here at the booth, other talks, and at the experts lounge also during the week. I'm living in Belgium, and I have a website that is lefred.be where you can find a lot of information related to MySQL. So first, we're going to start with how MySQL works with JSON, right? So this is a JSON document, right? So this is how it looks like. And MySQL 8.0 has supported this JSON documents, but the data type was already there in 5.7, right? So in 5.7, we have a native data type for JSON documents. So it means you don't need to use a large text or something like that to store your JSON. So we store the JSON as a binary object, right? We can also do partial updates. So if you need to update a very large JSON document and you change some settings into it, you won't rewrite the full document. You will just change and update the changes, and you're going to replicate also only the change. So if you are using replication in your setup, right? We have about 30 JSON functions now, so you can do a lot of, and I will show you some of them. So you will do whatever you want on this JSON documents, much easier than what you would have done if it was a text with the JSON inside of it. And of course, as it is its own data type, we also support the JSON path. So this is, for example, an example, right? The $ is the root of the document. And then we can have the dot for the path leg separator. We support wildcards with all members, arrays, suffix, prefix, all that it's supported in the JSON data type. So all the solution is based on the JSON data type. So the MySQL document store works with this JSON data type. So of course, we built the document store around the JSON data type, but also around the MySQL server that everybody knows and that is a really proven technology, right? So with the JSON data type and in the document store, we have this flexible schema JSON document, right? We can store all documents we want without having to care about our data, its structure. No SQL is required, so you don't need to know SQL. You can just store and retrieve documents, objects, however you want. You don't need to define any attributes. We're going to use for this what we call the new XDev API, right? So it's another protocol, I will show you later, that we use to be able to create this whole CRUD operation, right? So we can extract column, you can do a search, you can index the data there. Also something very nice, if you are already using a document store right now, is that the document can be up to 1 gigabyte. So it seems huge to me, but with several document store in the market right now, you have a limitation of 16 megabytes, which is a lot already, I think, but it seems that a lot of people have issue with this 16 megabyte limitation. So for us, it's 1 gigabyte, right? You're going to see, but when you use the XDev API, you can use all the new modern programming language, and we have several sessions on that also during the week. So please check the schedule, and you will find other. If you would like to use Node.js or Java, we have sessions related to that too, right? Also, the document store can work with relational tables. So not only with documents, but also with relational tables. And like I said, it's all based on the proven MySQL technology that we all rely on, right? So as I said, we use the X protocol, and you need to have also the connectors for your application to connect using the X protocol. So we have connector for C++, for .NET, for Node.js, PHP, Python, and Java. So these one are the ones that are supported by the MySQL engineers, right? And that we can help you on that. Of course, we are also working with other communities to try to increase that. For if you are using Go or stuff like that, we help them too, but we don't own the connector. So the Dev API has been written from scratch for modern development. So we don't use the 3306 classic protocol that we call it. If you really want to use document store, you will have to use the new protocol, which is the X protocol. It supports SQL, so you can use the X protocol and do exactly what you're doing so far with using MySQL, but also NoSQL for JSON document and NoSQL for relational SQL tables. You can do all that with the document store in the X protocol. So we have the same API, so same calls across all the connectors. Or, you know, the function will be add or insert, or will be exactly the same as if you write Python or if you write Node.js, it will be exactly the same. So we provide the connectors. I saw you about that. This is also supported, the X protocol, in the MySQL shell. I don't know if you have seen the MySQL shell already. So this is what will replace the MySQL client, that when you go on a server or on your client, you just type MySQL. And then you have an interface to connect to a server and do whatever you want. This interface, we have replaced it. This client, we have replaced it by the MySQL shell. And so I will show you also how it works. And the MySQL shell is a very powerful tool. I will give a session on that also during the week about MySQL shell itself. It's full ACID support. It's also, we have some save points, and we have also connection pools in the X protocol. So this is, from the shell, we can do a lot of things, right? So we can do JavaScript, we can do SQL, we can do Python, because this is what we're going to do today. But we do also, you can import document, you can do import in parallel tables, you can do upgrade checker, so to check if your 5.7 MySQL has some issue to upgrade to 8.0. So for example, you have some keywords that are reserved in 8.0, or you have some engines that are not supported, stuff like that. You will be able to see it with the MySQL shell, right? So now let's go back to our document store, right? So migration from MongoDB to MySQL. So MongoDB is maybe one of the most popular document store around, right? And if you want to migrate out of MongoDB to MySQL, I want to show you how to do this. And I think the best example was to use the collection restaurants that everybody who are using MongoDB did at least once using the tutorial, right? So this is how you do that. So I use Mongo export for the restaurant collection, and I create the JSON file of it, right? So this is very easy to do. So I have now a big JSON file with my 25,000 documents there, right? And this is for the Python users, right? Because it's Python related, but you can do however you want in every language. So here we do, okay, let's create a schema on MySQL. So I'm connected to MySQL using the shell. You can see I'm connected on localhost 33060. It means that I'm using the X protocol. Here, this means that I'm using SSL. And the PI here, it means that I'm in Python. So all my commands now are Python. So I do, okay, create schema, docstore, use docstore, so I can see, oh, I'm connected on my document store MySQL that is running on the same machine, and I'm using the docstore schema. And then I say, okay, I will use this util global object in Python, but also in the other language that is in the shell. And I say import JSON, giving the path, where is my file? And it imported all the documents in MySQL in my document store. In one command here, I can do that in Python, right? So it's quite good. But it was very easy. So if people tell you, oh, moving away of MongoDB will be a really big pain for you, this is not true. It's 2 lines. Export, import. Very easy and very fast to do. So now that we have this collection in MySQL, let's have a look at it, right? So we can do restaurants, which is the collection I created, and I say find. This is a CRUD operation, right? That's for the SQL users, it's select something, right, out of my database. Of course, if I do this, MongoDB gives you a limitation by default that you need to act if you want more documents. It's limited to 100. In MySQL, you don't have that. In MySQL, if you do this, you will have 25,000 documents because you want them all. So it will be too much to show you on the slide because yeah, you can see it's very fast to retrieve them all. But let's add a limit to this to be able to show you something, right? So I do restaurant find limit 1. And this is the first document that I have imported in my document store, MySQL, right? So we can see we have an ID, and then we have some attributes, we have some arrays, a lot of stuff, documents. So I haven't created any schema, I haven't created any table, I haven't created any columns. I just said import the documents and have all my documents here in the document store, right? More example. So now I say, okay, restaurants, my collection, find, and I want to show just 2 fields out of it, name and cuisine, and I want to limit to 2 records, 2 documents only. So I do this, and it shows everything there directly in the shell. So it's very, very easy. You don't need to know SQL, and you can do whatever you want. We can add selection criteria, right? So we can say, okay, I want to, inside find function here, right? In the find method, I say, okay, I want Italian cuisine now. So I do this, field, name, cuisine, limit to 2 again, and the first 2 Italian restaurants that are in my collection will show up. So very quickly and very easily, you can have that information. So for developers, this is very easy. They don't need to know anything about the structure of the data. They don't need to know anything about SQL. You can have everything. We also support for the selection criteria, the in. So we can say, okay, I want restaurant, fine. Cuisine should be Turkish and Italian, right? And there was one restaurant providing Turkish cuisine, and then the first Italian one, and it shows it here. So also very fast. But the syntax is slightly different than the MongoDB one, right? So who is a MongoDB user here? You are, sir. Thank you. I'm happy to have you here. So could you tell me what I am trying to achieve here? Okay, yeah, I'm trying to find a restaurant that serves French cuisine and in Manhattan? Oh, not equal. Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah. So not in Manhattan, and I want to show the name, the cuisine, and the borrowed attribute, and limit to 2, right? And this is what I have. So even for MongoDB users or for people who never did anything CRUD, right? It's very easy to read this and to be able to retrieve the data out of it, right? It's like English almost, right? So in MongoDB, this is what you have to do to achieve the same. So you have to say, okay, I want cuisine, French, okay, borrowed, should not be in Manhattan, and you need to do a regular expression here. Then if you want to not show the ID and not show everything, you have to say, oh, I don't want to show the ID. ID should be 0. And I have to put 1 to the fields, the attributes I want to show. Limit to 2. Exactly the same output, same data, but the syntax is different. Our goal is not to work on MongoDB steps. We want to make data easy for every developer. Easy to add data, easy to retrieve data, easy to use, right? So we thought that this syntax is much easier than this one. And this is why we stay in this, with this syntax much easier, we think, to get the data and to use, right? So CRUD operation, we saw one which was find, right? Now we're going to see remove. So you want to remove data from your document. You can say restaurant remove, and then you find selection, the amount of records you want to delete, and it's very easy. Find to retrieve data, remove to remove data. Here, we're going to say, so we remove two restaurants. We check again, and then we have two new other ones because the first two has been deleted. Remember, the first two were La Baraka restaurant and Air France Lounge. Now, they are Bar Tabac and Tournesol. Because the two documents, we delete them, right? It's just one easy operation. So this CRUD operation to work with the collection, right? We can use the add to add documents. So to insert data, if you are a relational DBA, let's call it like that, right? So add, and then what data you want to do, and then you can execute it, and it will done. As you can see here, I don't do .execute because in the shell, it's not mandatory. But if you are using a programming language with the connector, you have to, when you prepare your statement, you have to say execute it, and it will execute it. So just here, .execute, and it's doing it, like here. So you can prepare everything you want and then execute when you want. So this is an example how to add documents. You can add multiple documents together like this, or put them all together like this. It will work. So other than adding a document, you can modify a document, right? So this is how to modify a document. You can say what you want to modify, you want which put limitations, sort the documents to say which, if you want to sort by one attribute and then modify only the first two, something like that. All that, it's possible, right? So this is an example. I want to modify, I put name, and here you can see this syntax. It's because I'm going to bind it into my prepare statement. So I say, OK, name, and I put, OK, this variable, I want to bind into thread. I will change the age. I will put it to 43. I will sort it by name, ascending. The first record I will retrieve, and I will execute. So you can do that to modify. Something also very nice to modify is that it, to this CRUD operation, is that it supports patch. So you can patch a document very quickly and make all the modification you want as a patch and apply the patch to the document. So this is very, very easy to do and fast. Remove a document, we have done that. It's just calling the remove CRUD operation, right? So here an example, another one with binding. So it's very easy. So now that we saw that, we made all this stuff using the collection object we have in the document store. So we have database object, then we have collection, we have schemas, and these are all the operations we can do, CRUD functions, right, the CRUD methods. We can also make indexes, and we're going to see that after together. But also, so we can do that on collection. So collection means documents only, or we can do that on relational tables. We can do CRUD operation also that are insert, select, update, delete, same way we have done now. So all you need to know about this syntax, you can find it in the XDevAPI user guide that is online in mysql.com, right? So now let's go a bit more for the Python users, right? So the MySQL connector for Python. So it's GA since April 2018. It's maintained by Oracle. So it's our engineers who create and maintain the connector for the X protocol. It has dual license. It supports MySQL Server 5.5 to 8.0, right? And of course, it has a support for SQL and NoSQL, and table and JSON document. So all that, it's supported by the Python connector that we provide. So we have 3 different APIs to choose that we can do. So it's the traditional API using the MySQL connector. We can also do the MySQL C API using this Python module, or we can do MySQL X, which one? This is the one we're going to use to do everything we want to do with the document store using the MySQL X Dev API. So if you are interested on that, And we have here all the documentation for this Python connector, right? Also, there might be some Django users here. We have also a MySQL connector Django module that provide the backend for Django if you want to use MySQL 8 documents and all that in Django, right? So the easiest way to install that, you can install it with pip, right? So you do pip install MySQL connector Python, and it installs the connector for you. Or you can use a MySQL repository if you have one for Fedora, Ubuntu, Debian, whatever. You can find all that online, right? Or if you want, you can also install it, go here and download the one you need and install only that package that you can download from the MySQL website. So what time is it now? It's lunchtime, I know, but it's also time to code a bit. So let's do some coding. So for you Python users, right, we import that module that we just installed, but as I told, we use MySQL X now because we want to do use the XDev API. So we create a session. It's MySQL X get session. So I connect where I need to connect, which port. You see the port is 33060 to have this. By default, it's where the X protocol is listening. The Dev API is listening. Then we put the user, the password. This one is not very secure, but it's. Then I get the schema. We created earlier. What it was document store. Here my collection is called all records. So I put an object call and I put this collection into it. And then you say, okay, I want my restaurants. I want to find in that collection all the document where the cuisine is Italian. I want to have all retrieve the field name, cuisine, and borrowed. I want 3 of them, and I execute it. And then in Python, I do a for in all the records I will fetch from the result set, and I will print them, and here the output. So this was Python, and I was able to retrieve data out of MySQL without one single line of SQL, right? So this was, you can use now completely the MySQL document store without SQL. So we have the document store, we have CRUD, we have ACID, I will show you after. So, but what makes the MySQL document store unique then? Because you say, yeah, but that I was able to do it with another document store, right? Not the collection, but I will explain you. So here for you developers, so who is developer here in the room? Okay. So for you developer, if I want to find, have a list of the best restaurants for each type of cuisine, right? And show the top 10 and with the best one for each cuisine first. So I want the first restaurant, the best restaurant of Italian cuisine, the best restaurant for French cuisine, and then make a list of them. How can I do that? So as you are a Mongo user, sorry, and we meet just before, so how easy is it to do that? Will you be able to do it in Mongo quickly? That was the answer I was expecting. So, because don't forget, these are documents, are JSON documents, just JSON documents that we have in MySQL, right? So, we will be able to use SQL when we need it. And every document store, let's say other solution, are thinking about it. Some are trying to implement it to have SQL for documents also, because sometimes SQL is required. So here, if I want to find this nice output with, okay, this is the best restaurant and this is the cuisine of it, right? It has an average score of 75. Then it's a Chinese restaurant with an average score of 73. If I want to do this, I will have to use common table expression that are new in MySQL 8. I need to use window function that are also new in MySQL 8. And doing this query that is not that long, to be honest, I was able to get this very quickly. This takes 1 or 2 seconds. And I retrieve all the data I want. And of course, which is nice for you Python users, is that you can mix inside of the, in the same session you are doing in Python, you can say, oh, I do what I want to do with CRUD operation because it's easy, it's fine, it's clean, I don't put any SQL in my code. But then when I need it, I can say, oh, in the same session, I want to go to do some SQL now. You do your SQL, and then you process the result set exactly the same way you process it here, and you can do whatever you want. So the output of this will be exactly in the same session, the 3 documents we have earlier, and then what we just made now with some SQL window function and common table expression, right? So you are able to mix all these documents, CRUD operation, and SQL in the same session using MySQL. So you are not able to do that in other document stores. Of course, then you say, yeah, but my application just reads JSON. They don't need to have any record set like this. You can say, OK, out of my SQL, I want to return JSON document, right? And when you run it, you return the full JSON document. So you can have from JSON document, process them in SQL, and return them in JSON document to your application. That if your application consumes only JSON, you are still able to do it. All that in MySQL, right? So who think it's cool? Nobody? You don't like that? Do you think it's cool? Yeah? So let's go more extra on it. So let's see what's behind this. How far can we do and why, how we build this solution, right? So the first thing is that every document has an ID, right? This ID, it's auto-generated, or you can also force it if you want. And it has the auto-generated ID has been optimized to be, because behind this, we all use InnoDB. Right? It's InnoDB, which is very our strong ACID engine for MySQL, right? So it's all InnoDB, and we need to, let's say, to help InnoDB for that. And so this is how we do that, right? So, of course, the document store also, it's full ACID. So we use InnoDB flush logs transaction commit at once. So every transaction you're going to do will be flushed on disk. We use the double write buffer. It's on. So if you're a DBA and you know InnoDB, this is all the thing you do to not lose any data at all ever, even if you use replication, sync bin lock equal 1. And then we have transaction isolation, all supported in the document store. So we are full ACID. And why are we full ACID? Because we do care about your data. If you are using the MySQL document store by default with full ACID and all synchronized on disk like this, you will never lose data. I can assure you, you don't lose your data, which is not the same with all document stores. So we care about your data when we use MySQL. So time for more extra example, because we still have time for it. So let's have some more fun with the Walking Dead. So here, I will import a new set of documents inside of MySQL, right? So you see I imported my all Walking Dead shows inside my MySQL. Then I want to say, oh, show me all the episodes of the first season, right? So you do, OK, in Python, find season equal 1, some field I want to show. So here, the name, the season, the number, and the air date. And I get the 6. So the season 1 had 6 episodes, and these are the 6 episodes, right? Now I can say, oh, I want to find all the first episodes of each season. So with Python document store using the devx API, it's very easy. You say, oh, find number 1 field. I want to just show name and season. And here we got all the first episodes of each season, right? So as a developer, I can retrieve data without knowing anything about SQL, and very easily if I have to do some easy operations, right? So now you can also speed up this by creating indexes if you need. So depending on the lookup you do, you can say, oh, I want to create an index here on the name, right? And so this is how we do. We create that index, and Then you say, oh, I want name first time again, field, show the name, and you see it was very, very fast because it used the index, right? So you can index each attribute if you want of the documents you have in the document store. So for example, here we can see that we are using that index. So here I am in SQL, and I do an explain on that, and I see, okay, index name, it's name IDX, the one we created here, and we can see that. We also support transactions. So you can have transaction in the MySQL document store. So here you see I say, okay, let's find number 9, season 9. So this is the name, it's called adaptation. Then I say, okay, I start a transaction. I want to remove that field, that document. I try to retrieve that document. Of course, it's empty because I just deleted it. I do a rollback, and the document is back because it's a full transactional engine. So you have document store with full transactions also supported in MySQL document store. We can do more with SQL. So same session, I just go in SQL mode, this time in the shell, and I say, okay, I want to find here how many episodes were for each season, right? So this is how you do that. You say you can use group by, and you will have all the output here for each season, how many episodes there were. But we can do even more with SQL. So here for some statistics, the max duration, minimum duration, average duration per episode in each season. You can do that very quickly. Look, less than 1 second, right? Even less than half second, you know? So doing this, it's very fast using SQL. But don't forget, it's SQL, but behind are documents. This is just documents, right? So number of days between episodes, we can find that also. All these kind of strange queries that we are not able to do in any document store very easily, you can do it with MySQL going in SQL. And also, we can create constraint. So we can validate our data, so you can create some constraint between collections or tables. So here, I do, okay, I will create a collection that we will call rating, right? So I will say, okay, the user, it's me. For that episode, I want to give a rating of 12. It's okay, so I can find it, and I see, right? So there is no constraint, no validation. I can put whatever I want in it. So now I can say, okay, show me the table, what it looks like in SQL. So this is what a document, a collection looks like in SQL. You don't need to have a look at it, but it's possible. So you can see we have the ID, we have the doc here, which is the JSON data type, and then we have index we have created there. So now I want to create this rating table. I want to show the rating collection we created. It's also a document, some data there. So we have 2 tables or 2 collections, because as soon as you have an ID and a JSON data type, it's a collection. If you create another column there manually yourself, it will become a table. If you do that, but you can create virtual ones, and it stays a collection. So here we say, okay, I will add a new column, episode ID, that is generated. So I keep a collection because I generate out of it something, right? So in the rating, I will just want to have the episode ID. And here, so to create an index on it, or let's say a constraint. Then here, I use exactly the same stuff, and I create 2 new columns. Then add index, and then add a foreign key. You can add foreign keys between collection using index that you created. And so this is how it looks like. Now we have this key, ID extra, and here we have the foreign key, right? And now if I say, oh, I want to find 1, 2, 3, it's empty. I want to create this one. So I want to give a score, a rating for the episode 1, 2, 3, which doesn't exist in the collection. It will tell me, oh, you cannot have that rating because this document doesn't exist. So you will be able to create, to do all this data validation inside the document store, right? Because here, I'm not doing any SQL. I am back in Python mode. I'm just doing CRUD operation. I've prepared everything in SQL, but after, it's full document store, CRUD operation in the document store. But we have even more since 8.0.16, so we can do check constraint that are supported. So here, for example, I say, okay, the rating has to be bigger than 0. And, or I can also add another one and say, oh, the rating has to be less than 21. So I want a rating for 1 to 20, right? And so if I say, oh, for this episode that exists, I want to give a rating of 22, it says, oh, but this constraint is violated. You cannot make this rating. So all that you can do now in the MySQL document store very easily. So your DBA has to prepare some stuff maybe, but then as a user, developer, you can let it go, and all the constraints will be supported. But now people wanted more, and we did more. 8.0.17, we have schema valid function now. So this is one of the new functions for the JSON data type, and we say, okay, now for the name, I want max length of 30, so this will be my schema properties. Let's call it like that, right? And then I say, okay, I want to check if my document is valid. And then you say, oh, this one is not valid because they have bigger, longer title name, right? A name here, it's longer. So you say, oh, these documents were not valid. Of course, this I check it afterwards. I was not able, so okay, they are not valid, but what can I do? Should I delete them? Should I modify them? People has entered them, and they can keep entering not valid documents. So what I can do now, it's, why they are not valid, you can see using the schema valid validation report function. They just tell you, oh, this is not, it's too long, right? It doesn't, it doesn't, how you call it, is not compatible with the max length we have added there. But then that you know that it doesn't help either. What you want is to say to people, okay, I don't want you to be able to create these non-valid documents. So what we do, we create a constraint of it. So you can create a constraint. So you mix the two solutions to validate all your documents in advance when they are inserted. So here I do a check, I do the JSON schema valid, and it has to be 1, so it has to be valid. And when you do that, when you try to add a very long title that is not compatible with the schema validation we ask for it, it will tell you, oh, this is not okay. You cannot add this document because it is not valid to what we have defined, right? So this is, again, another very nice feature. So as a user, what do you gain? And as a developer, right? You have the best of the two worlds, in fact. You have data integrity. We can check everything. We can check between tables. We can check between documents, because you can also make the same checks I've shown you between documents and relational tables. And you can mix them, and you can mix result out of it also. You have ICIT compliant. So your data, it's durable. You don't lose data, right? You have transactions. You can make multiple modifications. You can roll back, commit. All transactions are supported. And you can use SQL when you need it. If you don't need it, don't use it. But if you need it, you can use it very easily. Because what I've seen also in the field is that people has a document store, and then they retrieve data out of it to put it in a relational database to be able to do some SQL out of it. No need here. You don't need to copy your data multiple places. You keep your data in MySQL, documents, and you can run SQL on it if you need to make some queries, reporting, or whatever. But you have also schemaless. No schema needed. Flexible data structure. You don't need to know the columns or whatever. And it's very easy to start. We saw earlier that it was very easy for you to read or create anything. If you want more reason to move to MySQL 8 document store, you can find top 10 reasons here on the site. Thank you. And you will also find here some other shell, other slides, and other tool that you can do with MySQL shell and Python. The full reporting framework, because you can create reporting in Python. So if you're a Python user and you want to extend the shell, it's possible. You can find here information on how to do that. because I have a session on that where we're going to extend the shell in Python, so if you're interested. And we can also create plugins in Python for the shell. And these plugins that you write in Python can be used in JavaScript or whatever you want, so very easily. Yeah, so this is some example. We have also some books. So if you're interested on the JSON data type, if you're interested on the shell, if you're interested on the Python and MySQL, these are new books available. I don't know if they are all here, if you can find some here. But this one, if you want to know about the JSON data type more, we have Dave here around. So if you buy the book upstairs, find Dave with the blue shirt here, and he can even sign it for you. So he's the author of the book. So thank you very much. But before I let you go, don't forget that very soon in the room 207, 208, we have the State of the Dolphin keynote where you will learn a lot of nice stuff about MySQL Wait, about our plans, and about what also customers are using, how they are using MySQL and what they think about it. So it's really time to upgrade to MySQL 8. It was currently is the fastest MySQL adoption release. So it means that people are moving very fast to MySQL 8, more than it has never been like when 5.7 came out or 5.6 came out. People were reluctant to upgrade very quickly. This is not the case with MySQL 8. So people see all the advantages of it, and they move to MySQL 8 already. Also, don't forget to complete the session survey in the mobile app. And thank you very much, and see you later at the keynote. So thank you very much.